Hello, my name is Matthias and welcome to the FPL Scope and this video where I'm going to be talking about whether you should wildcard in Game Week 6 or not. And I think I might make this type of video more often going forward because it is quite important to pretty early in the week decide whether you should wildcard or not. Because if you do activate the chip and wildcard early in the week, you get the advantage of getting on some players before they go up in price. Like for example, Haaland has already gone up in price now from Sunday to Monday, and you also avoid certain price falls. If you have someone like Rodgers, like I do, he's going to fall down in price most likely within the next day, and before he does that, you can wildcard and get him out of your squad so you don't lose the value, because the value is quite important when you do make a wildcard draft. There's so many times where you make the perfect wildcard draft and you have 0.1 or 0.2 away from actually achieving it. So that is a huge advantage to activating the wildcard chip early. But I'm going to get into that pretty soon in this video. I'm also going to have like a more proper wildcard draft later on in the week, as I always do. I make a weekly wildcard draft I make a wildcard draft basically every single week in the weekly wildcard draft series, where I select what I think is the best squad to have currently in FPL for the next few game weeks, essentially using a wildcard chip every single week, or at least like pretending to, so I can show you which players are the most important to have in any which game week, basically. But yeah, I'm still a bit unsure about how to structure these videos. For now, I'm just going to talk about my score in Game Week 5 and my plans for Game Week 6 and show you why I'm not wildcarding myself. And then we're going to get into the wildcard drafts later on in the video. So if you're just here for a wildcard draft and like the possible permutations you can have for a wildcard, then you can scroll over to, or fast forward, I guess, to later in the video where I'm going to be talking about the players that I would have considered if I was to wildcard myself. But currently, I'm not looking to wildcard. I have had a pretty good start to the game week, or a pretty good start to the season, I should say. Even though this game week wasn't the best, I still got a small green arrow from 1.2 million to just 1.0 million, basically, barely hanging on to my fourth green arrow in a row. So I'm actually looking pretty good for now in terms of my team. Also have a lot of the things in place that a lot of people are wildcarding into, namely 2 Arsenal players already. I have a lot of 4.5 DEFCON defenders, which is another thing a lot of people are going in for right now. And I do have 3 free transfers. So I did have 3 free transfers because I've already used 2 of them to make sure that I bring in Haaland for Game Week 6. So I'm actually in a pretty good position myself in total, but I could have made some other good decisions that would help my team and help my score even more, which I'll get into right now. So when it comes to Game Week 5, I got 49 points. Not the best, not the worst. It looked pretty good after the Saturday. I had like 35 points, I think, with 4 players to play. But then like a lot of the players that I didn't have or didn't start, I should say, in Reinders, I got a lot of points. Reinders, Haaland, Senesi, for example. And then the players that I did have that did play didn't really get that many points. So yeah, the Sunday was a bit detrimental to my squad and my rank. But I did get a green arrow in the end, which is the most important part, really. So yeah, in goal, Sells with 3 points, lost his clean sheet again. He's been a terrible goalkeeper. Who cares? He's a goalkeeper, really. In defense, I had Gabriel with 2 points, Anderson with 4 points, Agbadu with 3 points, and Juf with 3 points. And I actually got DEFCON points from both Anderson and Agbadu, and I got an assist from Juf, but that didn't really help much at all because they got like not that many points. But at least I got 4 points from Anderson. I got 3 points each from Agbadu and Juf. It's better than just the 2 that Gabriel got, so not the worst either. In midfield, I had Salah as my captain with 10 points. I think he looked better in this game against Everton. Had an assist pretty early and had 2 pretty good chances apart from that as well. I think Salah's looking a bit better now. Each game week, he looks slightly better, and especially now with a right back behind him, like a proper right back, like either Frimpong or Bradley, I think he's going to be even better. So yeah, I'm a bit sad that I have actually sold him now to fund Haaland, but I might bring him back already in Game Week 8. Like he is someone that I am considering, but they do have 2 pretty tough fixtures now, Salah. So yeah, but he's looking better and better in my opinion. Semenyo is someone that still looks good, even in this game where he didn't get anything in terms of attacking returns, which is why you brought him in. He actually got defensive contribution points, which is kind of crazy from him. He doesn't usually do that, and got a clean sheet as well. So he got 5 points. So that was really, really nice from Semenyo. He just finds new ways to get points every single week. And that's why he's like one of the most important players to have currently. He's the only transfer before Game Week 5. He's the only transfer that I've done bring in Semenyo, because he was someone that I should have had for Game Week 1 because he's been amazing this season, basically. I cannot say the same for Rodgers, who got 2 points again, blanked yet another time. Probably should have just benched him, I guess, but again, it is Sunderland, and they were also up by 1 man for for most of the game, actually. But Aston Villa are just really bad currently, and yeah, Rodgers is not someone that I do enjoy having in my team, basically. Up front, Gyökeres with 2 points. disappointing again in a big game, but I do think he's going to get good pretty soon. At least the West Ham in Game Week 7 is looking nice. Speaking of West Ham, I also had Jerry Bowen with 9 points. That was like the main thing I had going into Game Week 5, whether I should keep Bowen or sell him for Joao Pedro, because Joao Pedro looked a bit better, especially in the long-term future. But also for Game Week 5, I thought Joao Pedro looked better than Bowen. But what ended up happening was Bowen scored a goal, got 9 points, 3 bonus points even. And Joao Pedro blanked, got 2 points because Chelsea were a man down pretty early in that game. So actually gained 7 points from that, and I'm really happy that I didn't do the transfer, because I already also have another transfer in the bank now because I didn't do that. So yeah, really grateful for that. Mateta also scored in that same game against West Ham with 6 points. And that was basically the main reason that I didn't want to bench boosting in week 5, because I had Bowen and Mateta playing against Juve and Richards. So the points total was kind of capped at basically what I got in the end in this game week. That's why the bench boost is sort of like a tricky thing to deal with. I sort of tried to maximize my points and try to not have players playing against each other on the bench boost, because I had Reinders against the Arsenal guys as well. But in the end, I actually would have gotten more points if I had used the bench boost, because in the Arsenal City game, it actually went for like to the benefit of the City players, Reinders more essentially. And in the West Ham Palace fixture, it actually ended up with a lot of points for all 4 candidates, really. Or like in total, they got a lot of points. 3 points from Juve, 4 points from Richards, 6 points from Mateta, 9 points from Bowen. That is 22 points across 4 players, which is more than 5 points per game, which is really nice. So yeah, but yeah, got an assist from Juve, got DEFCON points from Richards, got a goal each from Bowen and Mateta. So that was basically the best case scenario that I had for those 4 players. So yeah, in the end, should have used the bench boosting in week 5, but also it could have been differently. Reinders got the maximum amount of points that he could have gotten, especially with the 9 points that I got with 2 DEFCON points on top of everything. He actually only got 11 defensive contributions, but they counted 12 by the end of the match. And now a day later, they've actually changed it down to 11, but that's not going to affect his score. He's still going to stay at 9 points rather than going to 7 points, because 1 hour after the final game of each game week, the game week just ends and there are no further changes to the points. So yeah, Reinders got the maximum amount that I think he would have gotten against Arsenal, because I didn't expect Arsenal to concede more than 1 goal, but he got an assist, he got 2 bonus points, and he got 2 DEFCON points on top of that. So 9 points for Reinders, and that's the main reason why the bench boost would have been good in Game Week 5, really. So yeah, the other bench players, Dubravka with 4 points had 7 saves despite conceding, and Richards with 4 points getting DEFCON points despite conceding. So yeah, a lot of extra points that I didn't expect from the bench in Game Week 5, but would have gained 9 points if I had bench boost in Game Week 5 rather than Game Week 4. But that's just something that happens sometimes. The bench boost is pretty difficult to predict, really. I could have had a clean sheet on Dubravka in Game Week 4 against Liverpool if it wasn't for that really late penalty, which would have been really lucky. And then Reinders, like, there, yeah, who knows with the bench boost. But either way, bench boost is not really that important. I don't think it's like the most important chip at all. I think it's the least important chip for what it's worth. But yeah, it's out of the way now anyways. When it comes to the free hit, a lot of people are looking to free hit in game, or were looking to free hit in Game Week 6. But I've said since the start of the season, if you watch my videos from preseason, I've said it pretty early that Game Week 6 free hit is pretty much a trap, because yeah, a lot of people looked to bring in Haaland against the Burnley fixture or against Burnley. But my contention was always that you wanted Haaland permanently for Game Week 6, most likely. The actual answer was that you wanted Haaland permanently from Game Week 1, but we all wanted Salah, and having Salah and Haaland was going to be quite difficult for a Game Week 1 squad anyways, but yeah. So yeah, that is pretty much the Game Week 5 score and the squad structure currently. Pretty happy with it. 49 points, green arrow, and no transfers made. Not too bad. No chips made, no transfers made, and I still managed to get a green arrow at this point at a pretty good rank, still like a decent rank at least for now. So I'm pretty happy with Game Week 5. Now let's go on to Game Week 6. So this is my current Game Week 6 squad, and I do actually have another chip activated, and that is the triple captaincy chip currently on Haaland, because I have already made 2 transfers because of the price changes. Like I mentioned, Haaland was going to go up in price, so I figured I should just go early on the transfers and get in Haaland, because I knew I wanted Haaland, and to get Haaland, like the most likely thing would be to sell Salah. I could have done it without selling Salah, but that would have been like I would have had to sell Gyökeres and someone else. And it looked like a bit iffy. I think I actually could have done, I can't remember exactly off the top of my head now, but yeah, I could have done it without selling Salah, but I felt like I just needed to do that move. Anyways, also just because I really want Mbeumo, he's the one that I brought in for Salah. I think for the next 2 game weeks, he's going to be amazing against Brentford away and against his old club. and then Sunderland at home in game week 7. I think those 2 game weeks are really good for Mbeumo, who's usually like a flat track bully, like we like to call him, someone that's really good against the lesser teams in the league. So yeah, I quite like Mbeumo for the next 2 game weeks. And then in game week 8, I could always just reverse it and get Salah back for Mbeumo by doing some other transfers. So I still have that option available to me. But yeah, doing Salah to Mbeumo allowed me to do Mateta to Haaland, and I still have 3.2 million in the bank and 1 free transfer left. So I might actually do another transfer as well on top of that. And make 3 free transfers this week. But I also kind of want to keep the transfer. I'm a bit unsure what I want to do, because there are some, like, I've gone through like the future game weeks and stuff, and there are some benefits, of course, to saving that transfer. I could always do a hit eventually if I don't have enough transfers in future game weeks to bring in the likes of Palmer and Joao Pedro, who will be interesting players pretty soon. But I'm trying to do the season without doing any hits, so I'm not quite sure how to deal with that yet. But like the number one option that I think I want to do with the free transfer currently, if I were to use it in game week 6, would be to bring in Senesi. That's basically the main point. Selling Aguado is like also like kind of a priority, especially if he's going to lose his place. There are some talks about him potentially not being as nailed as people thought, especially now making another mistake in the game against Leeds where they lost once again. They might want to make some defensive changes after conceding 3 goals against Leeds. That's not the best. So yeah, I think selling Aguado is something that I would do now, and more importantly, I would bring in Senesi, who looks absolutely amazing. Previously, like earlier on in preseason, Senesi was actually someone that I did look at as a potential good option, but once Bournemouth sold Sabarni, I just basically went off of Bournemouth and didn't really think that they were going to be that good defensively, but they have been with Senesi, and now the Akita as well back, who's been amazing defensively. They also have Trafford at left back, who's like for like replacement for Kirkis, and they have a better goalkeeper in Petrovic over Kepa. So yeah, Senesi is someone that I should have had for game week 1. I want to rectify that mistake and have him for the upcoming game weeks, because I think all the way up until game week 13, which is when I'm looking to wildcard myself, he looks pretty good in terms of fixtures, especially for like defensive purposes. Leeds now in the first game, Leeds are not the best, even against Wolves, and they scored 3 goals. That was from a free kick and some other mistakes that Wolves made. I think that will be a nice clean sheet opportunity for Senesi, who already showed against Newcastle that he can get 9 points in such a tough game. So he's someone that I do want. The cost isn't even that much. Agbadu is 4.5, Senesi 4.7. So that seems like a good transfer that I'm probably leaning towards doing, but there are some other options as well. One of them is just selling Rodgers and getting someone else. I could even upgrade Rodgers to someone like Foden, for example. But I think option 2 is more if I am looking to bring in Salah, for example, in future game weeks. Downgrading Rodgers to someone like Dewsbury Hall and saving some money, even more money, and have 5.2 million in the bank actually. Could be the way to go to bring in Salah eventually, because if I do that, I think I can do Gyökeres down to maybe Joao Pedro, and I think I would actually afford that as of right now with the current pricing. So yeah, I might do that as well, because Dewsbury Hall has his best fixture in the next upcoming game weeks right now against West Ham at home. But at the same time, I would have to again play an Everton player against West Ham when I do have a West Ham defender currently in my starting lineup in GW5. So yeah, I'm not so sure about that. I'm not too sure about Dewsbury Hall either as like a super good asset. I want him maybe for game week 6, but that's also like he is a pretty low price. Like ideally, I'd want to get Ndiaye, of course. I think he's a better asset than Dewsbury Hall, all things considered. But if I want Salah back or have the option to get Salah back in game week 8, I can't really go for Ndiaye because that would be just too much money. I guess I could do that and still downgrade Gyökeres to an even worse attacker. That could be another option, but yeah, I don't know. So currently I'm leaning more towards doing the Agbadu to Senesi move, just because Senesi I think is going to get more points in the long run. I can't really think too much about the short term. Now I'm thinking short term with Mbeumo especially, but also like Haaland is long term, but Mbeumo is like more short term punt, so I need to think more long term with my transfers sometimes as well, and actually like not worry so much about future transfers as much, because yeah, I can just upgrade my team right now with Agbadu to Senesi and start Senesi over GW5 anyways. So yeah, that's my current plans. I'm going to talk more about my current plans in the team selection video at the end of the week, but this video is more about the wildcard. But as you can see from my team, especially now with the 2 free transfers, Mbeumo in for Salah and Haaland in for Mateta, my team is actually pretty well set up for the future, all the way up until game week 13 at least, when I'm going to wildcard myself, most likely. I do have the Arsenal, Gabriel against Newcastle away and Gyökeres against Newcastle away, not the best fixture in game week 6, but from game week 7 onwards, they have really good matches, and I might even double up on the Arsenal defense at that point as well. In goal, Sells, he has his final good game against Sunderland, but I think actually the rotation between Sells and Dubravka isn't the worst. But at the same time, both those teams, Nottingham Forest and Burnley, are pretty bad defensively, as we saw in the game between them right now this past weekend. They concede a lot of chances, so I might want to upgrade Sells to Raya at some point as well. So I'm looking to do that potentially, but not for this game week. Sunderland at home is a good game week for Sells. In defense, Anderson, he is going to be on the Wildcard draft as well. He's just such a good DEFCON point guy that I want to keep him. Juf, I quite like. I don't really mind keeping him. He is pretty good for attacking returns. Gotten 2 assists already. And especially if West Ham get a new manager, especially if it is Nuno Espirito Santo, he can get a lot more clean sheets and be a really good player for only 4.4. So I don't really feel too bad about keeping him either. But yeah, anyways, let's just go into the Wildcard draft actually, because I'm going to talk a lot about all the players that I do have already as well. So this is my current setup. As you can see, this is my current team as it stands right now. With all the players that I do have, I have 3.2 million in the bank and 1 free transfer. But if I was to Wildcard, I'd have unlimited transfers, and that's where I can do a lot of different changes to the team. So obviously when it comes to the players that I would drop out of the team if I had a wildcard, Rodgers for sure, he's been terrible. Aston Villa have been terrible. Sells in goal for sure. Nottingham Forest have been they haven't gotten a clean sheet so far, and Sells has just been a big mistake. As always with my goalkeepers, I always select the wrong goalkeepers, and when I wildcard them away, they start to do well, and the new goalkeeper that I get is bad. So yeah, I kind of hate goalkeepers honestly. In defense, Agbadu, like I mentioned, he's someone that I would drop as well. He's looking bad. Wolves are looking bad. Jared Bowen, I do quite like Bowen. He got me 9 points. He's actually been one of the higher scoring forwards so far, so I don't mind keeping him. But on a wildcard, I probably would not keep him currently as it stands right now. And Buemo is like a bit of an unsure thing. Of course, I brought him in, so like I do want him, but there might be a variation where you want to have Salah, where I might want to get rid of him. But for now, he stays, I guess. King as well, 4.5. He is not going to play that much, so I think there's better 5.0 possibilities there, including Dewsbury Hall. But he's also someone that I could have if I need the cost-cutting move of going down from a 5.0 to a 4.5 midfielder, basically. Richards as well, I think he's been good. He's been decent when it comes to DEFCON points so far. The Palace had pretty bad matches, so I might sell him, but yeah, I think he would be out. I also think Joff would be out, honestly, on a wildcard. And yeah, for now, let's just remove Mbuemo as well. I think these are the most important players. Actually, just remove Yuckers as well. These are the players that are like completely nailed on the Wildcard draft. These 6 players. Dubravka, just the best 4.0 backup goalkeeper, really. Gabriel, I think, is also like just so good. They're going to have such good matches, and he is going to get a lot of clean sheets. He's going to get some goals. He's going to get some bonus points. He's even going to get some DEFCON points, as he showed in Game Week 4. Joachim Andersen, I think, is also just really good for DEFCON points in general. He's been really solid so far, and he's a really cheap price. I think he's underpriced. He's sort of like Senesi. Really good. Reinders is looking amazing currently. Got the assist against Arsenal. Really well taken assist from him. And just shows again that when Marmoush is out now and Doku is playing on the left, Reinders has been amazing. Even against Man United the game before, he probably should have had like way more points because he is in really good positions all the time, and he's going to get points from that. And that's something that we saw in Game Week 1 as well when they played with Doku and didn't play with Marmoush. He was fantastic and got 10 points from that game. So Reinders, a lot of people have sort of disparaged him after the good start, and people sort of going overboard a bit after Game Week 1. He's actually an amazing asset and someone that I would have definitely on the Wildcard draft as well. Semenyo, also just like the greatest value player currently in FPL. He's been so good. He's gone up in price all the way up to 7.7, I think now. Yeah, he's kind of crazy, Semenyo as a pick. And of course, Haaland is like the main reason people are wildcarding. He's been fantastic so far. He's been the best captaincy option. He is really, really good. But I do actually think if I was wildcarding, I know I just sold him, Salah, but if I was wildcarding and I could change my entire setup, my entire team, I think I actually would accommodate a Salah draft. So the first draft I'm going to make is with Salah. I'm going to do other variations to this as we go along in this video. If you still keep with me in this video, because I have talked for 20 minutes already and I'm going to cover a bit more. But anyways, Salah, I think I would make a draft with him, and that gives us some other like difficulties, but let's just go with the cheaper players. So Senesi, 4.7, he's an easy choice. I think actually with Salah, I think I would just lean towards going with Goodmanson in defense as well for Leeds. Could go with Mukiele. I might actually go with him instead. It just depends on your rotation and stuff. So actually just for for like, I think Goodmanson is actually pretty good as well. Yeah, it's just have Goodmanson, but it could be Mukiele, could be a Burnley defender, whether that's Estev or Ekdal, for example. Estev has actually been a bit better now when it comes to defcon points the last few games, so maybe Estev if you want to go for a Burnley defender still. But yeah, Goodmanson is also a good asset there, and in my opinion. Then we go to the midfield. I think also I would want to get Ndiaye if I was on a wildcard, especially if I can still fit in Salah. We'll see if that is doable. I do think it is because I have done this before. In goal, I think like if you want someone cheap, Petrovic for 4.5 is really nice. Yes, there is a double up there between Bournemouth players basically. But you can always bench Senesi in those game weeks that are tougher and just have a single Bournemouth defender because they can keep a clean sheet against anyone. They've shown that they are pretty good offensively. So I think Petrovic is nice. Also, another alternative is of course David Raya. He's the most easy choice currently in terms of Arsenal defenders, apart from Gabriel, because we know he's going to play every single game. But I don't really like having him long term as much. So I think I'm going to lean towards Petrovic for now. But let's actually see how this squad actually shapes up. I think also in attack, this is another player that I probably should have mentioned earlier, but at the same time, he's someone that I'm not as sold on as most people. That is João Pedro from Chelsea. He has looked really good so far in terms of getting points, but a lot of his points have come from corners. So I'm not quite sure if he's going to be that good. I still have some doubts about him, but he is a pretty safe pick at 7.8, not the worst price for a regularly starting Chelsea striker. Even though they struggled against Man United this past game week, they are still a good team and they are going to get a lot of points, and especially from game week 8 onwards. I think people are saying game week 9 is the time to jump on Chelsea players, but I think game week 8 now against Ange Postecoglou's Nottingham Forest is also a really nice fixture. So I think game week 8 is a really nice entry point for Chelsea players. But he also has Brighton at home in game week 6. They do have Liverpool in game week 7, which is the tough fixture. But I think I would have him on the Wildcard draft as well, especially since we can afford it most likely. Final defender, I think Tarkowski is someone that I have looked at potentially at 5.5. But again, it depends how much money you do have extra. The final attacker as well, Gyökeres would be like the ideal candidate, I guess. But let's put in Gyökeres to see how much money we have left. 1.4 left for a midfielder. That is not possible to do, basically. Even if we don't have Tarkowski, even if we have like a 4.5 defender. Actually, someone that I want to bring up is Udogie. If you want a cut price defender, he looked really good for Spurs this past game week. And he was someone a lot of people looked at before he got injured in preseason as a potential good pick. Because every preseason game and every game so far really for Spurs under Frank, he's been super attacking. So I think he's a really nice underrated asset from Spurs, especially considering Spurs also have like not the best long-term fixtures. I think Udogie is someone that you can just keep at a really cheap price for the longer term. While someone with like Romero, for example, or Pedro Porro especially, those are players that are really expensive and that you would want to get rid of. So that's a future transfer really. But for 4.4, I think Udogie could just be on the bench and play him for those easier game weeks. So he's someone that I do quite like. But you can see even with Udogie rather than Tarkowski, we don't have enough for a midfielder with Gyökeres here on top of João Pedro. So you would have to downgrade Gyökeres, I guess, to someone else. I think there's actually like it's again controversial because he's been such a troll in FPL. I think Calvert-Lewin is actually a decent option. You can see there 6.0 for a midfielder. That's more than enough to have someone good. You could also go with someone like Strand Larsen. Let's just move on from that Calvert-Lewin thing. Strand Larsen, we still have 5.1 in the bank, and you could go for someone like who's really popular right now in Anton Stach or Stach, whatever, from Leeds. I think he's kind of overrated a little bit as a pick because I think he's been sort of maximized his points already. He has scored a goal already, and he is averaging a goal per season the last few seasons, so he's not someone that's regularly going to get a lot of goals. He does get a couple of chances for assists. He creates a lot of chances in general, so that's why he's like still a pretty good option. He's going to get defcon points, he's going to get assists here and there. So for 5.0, you can't really ask for much more than that, but I don't think he's going to get these like 15 pointers like he just did in game week 5. I don't think he's going to get that quite regularly, but yeah, this is a certain variation of the team, I guess, you can go for. You could also, for example, downgrade Ndiaye here, to Dewsbury Hall if you don't want to use as much on an Everton player. Then you can upgrade Stach, whatever how you pronounce it, to Paquetá, who I think is actually a pretty good option, especially from game week 8 onwards. West Ham will have really good fixtures, and I think Paquetá, despite like having not the best 2 game weeks now, he's still on penalties. He's still decent for defcon points. He still can get goals and assists, especially if West Ham turn out to be better, because after the next 2 games against Everton and Arsenal, which might be 2 more losses, it's probably going to be a new manager for West Ham, and it most likely looks like Nuno Espirito Santo. I think Paquetá is actually looking pretty good as well. Another striker that I like for the same price point as Strand Larsen is someone that has been a bit neglected, I should say, despite having a lot of points so far, and that is Richarlison. People are saying that he is not nailed, he's not going to play every game, but I think that is just wrong. He got 90 minutes again as the striker this past game week against Brighton. He didn't play much in game week 4, but that was after an international break where they also had a Champions League game coming up after that, with Mathis Tel not part of the Champions League squad. So that makes sense, I think. So I think for the next 3 game weeks, when they have really good matches, Spurs, I think Richarlison is actually a pretty good asset as well at that price, at 6.7. So yeah, you could do that as well. There are other variations you can do to get more money in the squad. Yeah, there are a lot of different things you can do to get more money and upgrade your defense, upgrade your goalkeeper, for example. But let's just to do that, let's see what you can do if you don't have Salah, because he is still a pretty expensive asset, and I do have Palace and Fulham in the next 2 games, which are 2 pretty good defensive teams, so I don't think there's going to be too much or like a whole potential for Salah in those games. But you know, Salah, he can get a hole in every game basically, even though he's struggled so far this season. But yeah, if you want to go away from Salah, like I've done now currently in my own team, I think currently Mbeumo is like the best like short-term asset, and that gives you 6.8 extra. That gives you like a lot of money extra to upgrade elsewhere. So with that money in mind, you can get someone like David Raya, for example, rather than Richarlison up front. You can go with Gyökeres again, who looks good for the long term. You still have 3.5 million in the bank. You can even upgrade, like you can upgrade Dusper Hall to Njai, of course. Like there's just a lot of upgrades you can do to your team if you make that change. You can do Dogi to Tarkovsky and have a safer like long-term option there as well. So like there's a lot of benefits to not going with the Salah draft, but I think there are some variations to having Salah in your draft that is looking pretty good, especially for like the short term, as you still want to assess whether he's back and looking good again now, Salah, after a bit of a tough start. But yeah, that's just Salah. Like he is a difficult player to gauge currently because he's had a really rough start to the season, but he's still managed to get a lot of points because that is Salah. He just gets assists and goals even when he doesn't play that well. But I think he's going to play better and better. I think he's looked a lot better in the last 2 games with a proper right back behind him. So I would probably prefer having a Salah draft. But like as you can see here, there's a lot of benefits to going without him as well. There's a lot of things you can do with your squad and have a more well-rounded squad, in my opinion, if you do that. So yeah, basically just make the most of it yourself. I'm going to have a more detailed wildcard draft in the weekly wildcard draft video later on in this game week, or later on in this week, I should say, on Wednesday, where I'm going to make the proper team that I would actually wildcard into as it stands right now. And I think currently I would lean towards the Salah drafts. It looked a lot better when I did this before the video, but as I was spitballing here, I didn't make up the right money to get the players that I wanted. So yeah, if you want the full wildcard draft experience, you can watch the weekly wildcard draft video on Wednesday, where I'm going to select the squad that I think is the best going forward in FPL. And I'm going to do it where I rank them from 1 through 15, with the first player that I present to you being the best player, the most important player to have currently in FPL. Spoilers, it's Haaland, but yeah. Anyways, look forward for that video. Give me some feedback on if you want these types of videos in the future as well, when it comes to like whether you should wildcard or not, or use other chips. I even glossed over that when it comes to the current plans. I should go back to that. I have activated my triple captaincy chip on Haaland. I think this is a good game week for him. Burnley at home. I think that's the best game week, actually. I think that's the best fixture to have currently in this season. Burnley still look pretty bad. They conceded a lot of chances against Nottingham Forest as well. So I think it's like the best you can get for a single game week. But there is that opportunity of potentially a double game week. We're going to have more information on that later on this week, so you can actually still wait until Friday before you make a decision, or Saturday even, before you make a decision on the triple captaincy chip. And later on the weekend or in the week, we'll know more if there's a possibility of a blank game week, because we still have the opportunity, if Palace go through in the cup to the next round, they might have a postponement in game week 17 or game week 16, can't quite remember, and whoever they face in the League Cup would also have a postponement that week, most likely as well. So you can actually get 2 or like 4, even 4 teams that double game week in game week 16. And if that's the case, if you get 4 teams with a double game week, there's a decent likelihood that one of them has like two pretty good fixtures and is a pretty good player that you want to triple captain. So yeah, there is that, but we'll get more information on that later on in the week. So I'll talk more about that and my other plans for Game Week 6 when we get to the team selection video on Friday, basically. So yeah, wait for triple captaincy advice for that. But I do think, like I said, I have it activated currently. I might cancel it, but I have it activated because I think Burnley at home is just too good to ignore, basically, with Haaland still ready to play, hopefully. That's also the other thing we'll get to know later on in the week, if he's actually doing well, because he was subbed off early against Arsenal, surprisingly so. And Pep Guardiola alluded to him having some injury-ish issues after the game. So yeah, for now, if Haaland is confirmed and fit to be ready to play in Game Week 6 against Burnley, he is my triple captaincy choice this season, or this first half of the season. But I might also want to keep the chip for later on in a double game week if that happens as well. Bench boosts, like you can see this bench that I have now, I would not have bench boosted in Game Week 6 if I still had the bench boost. It just depends on your team really. But take a lesson from Game Week 5 myself. Like, don't worry too much about like players playing against each other and stuff. I've thought too much about that, I think, in the start of the season, just because I wanted to optimize everything. I just have a goal of getting to #1 overall and just everything working out perfectly. But sometimes a bench boost is just nice for like safety's sake, just to make sure that, for example, in this instance with Arsenal playing against Man City, and you don't really know who's going to get the points out of Gabriel, Haaland, Gyökeres, and Reinders, you might as well just use the bench boost in those instances and just make sure that you get some points at least. If I'd done that, I would have gained 9 points compared to what I did in Game Week 5, so or in Game Week 4. So yeah, make sure that you have that as a lesson for future game weeks if you want to use your bench boost yourself. But all in all, I think the bench boost is just more of a hindrance than anything. I think it's just in the way, and if you make several transfers to accommodate the bench boost, I think that's just a waste of your team, basically. It's more important to have a good team over like 5 game weeks than it is to get 9 extra points on your bench boost, really. So yeah, when it comes to free hit, I think Game Week 6, I think I mentioned this earlier in the video, I don't think Game Week 6 is the best time to free hit, because I do think a lot of the players that you were looking at originally to bring in on your free hit in Game Week 6, Bournemouth players and City players, are players that you want permanently. So I don't think a free hit is good in Game Week 6. And I said that since the start of the season, when a lot of people were looking to free hit in Game Week 6. And now almost no one is doing that. So yeah, if you want more cutting edge information like that in the future, please subscribe to the channel if you find this video useful. If you want more wildcard tips later on in the week and more tips in general in FPL, please subscribe to the channel. Also, I want you to join the FPL Score Mini League if you can, with the league code FNPQ83, because I always, every game week, feature the best manager in that league on one of my videos. So if you want a chance to be featured on one of my videos by having the best game week score in my FPL Mini League, please join the FPL Score Mini League with the league code that I just mentioned. So yeah, with all that out of the way, I hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making it. So thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.